name's Jonathan. Welcome back. This is Software Design from the Beginning. So we're going to carry on from the previous episode where we're looking at the big picture of design and how kind of terms fit together and that sort of thing. It's important to understand that every single organization or standards committee or body or organization, they're going to have a different view on what conceptual layers they are, what roles there are, and so on. So just a disclaimer, this is not following a particular standard. Let's continue. Here we have customer need, business need, law, ethics, compliance, and this is forces, right? These are the forces that push on. This is where we were. Let me just zoom out. You can see here we've got everything that was there from the previous video, but I have added code, principles, design patterns just to symbolize the coding in a team for the product that we're building, right? So we've got architecture and so on. Now, what I'd like to do is just take you through the last acronym, which is called BRACE, and show you where they kind of sit. So let's start with that first. This is immerse. This is the mnemonic, the heuristic mnemonic principle that I've developed to help us think about making agile code or extensible code, environmentally friendly, maintainable, and so on. And this really has some kind of overlap with architecture and your coding, your everyday coding. It is a design-centric mnemonic. It is helping you think about the correct things. You can think of it as a heuristic because it is not specifying exactly, it's giving you an idea of what weights to think about as you're designing. And really there's some crossover. You can utilize this with your architectures, you can utilize it with ontology. By placing it down here, I'm not specifically saying it's only for developers or a particular thing. In fact, reachable is something that is really discussed all the way up here. But I think on the whole, this is really targeted towards the software team and the designers and the evolution of that design as you go. That's where its sweet spot is. If we move a little higher, you'll see we have the surface acronym here. And this is really the consideration of the system as a whole, a kind of a holistic view of it. So we want a simple solution, we want it to be useful and robust and so on. And you can see that robust kind of is one of these things about architectures, but really it's also about the entire system. We must have a robust paradigm, a consistent paradigm, and create something that has quality. And so down here, it doesn't mean we're not concerned with quality because we're looking at immerse. It's just that this is the focus that I feel is necessary in a team designing, and this here is the primary flagship mnemonic for this kind of level of system, or this conceptual layer of a system. If we move further up and we go squarely into the business domain, we're looking at brace. So the level is brace, surface, then immerse. So what is brace? Well, brace is the kinds of things that you need to have on your system to make that system brilliant, right? Good quality, ethical, high standards, global holistic systems view of what good means. So for example, beneficence, we should have the quest to build software that has a good purpose, that only rewards and benefits, right? So there are various layers to that. We want to benefit, we want to write code that benefits. Maybe there's a form of reusability in our code and that benefits the bottom line, for example. We might have customers in need and we need to build them something that actually helps them, right? So we're benevolent towards them. So beneficence is a large term, but really in business this is where we should be thinking, and also responsibility and accountability. So they're slightly different, but responsibility you can think of as we have the duty, kind of duty ethics. We have a duty, a responsibility as professionals to do a professional job, and with that comes various qualities, right, of professionalism. Now, I put it up here with brace. It does not mean that developers are not responsible for themselves. Of course they are. They're responsible for code. They're responsible for data and doing building a system correctly. But of course, ultimately, if it's a product delivered by the company has the overarching responsibility to provide an ethical system. Also, accountability. Now, in software, you obviously know about this. I mean, we kind of stand back and say, well, we have terms and conditions. We have warranties. You cannot hold us responsible if the system breaks your computer, right? If it blows up your CPU. We had no intention of doing so, and don't do that. Now, personally, I think that's a terrible situation for us to have gotten ourselves into. We do have a responsibility, and we should be accountable in many ways. The nature of that accountability is where the ethical spectrum will sit, and we need to understand where our morals are and where the morals of our profession, where they sit, right? Where our morals sit as a profession and what we need to do as professionals. The next part, command and control, is that we should be able to command and control our systems with fine detail. We should be able to switch something off, turn something on, stop anything bad happening, be accountable. And explainable, we should know if it goes wrong, what exactly occurred. We should be able to debug it and trace it and find it and fix it and explain it. If somebody's trying to hold us accountable, we should be able to say, this is why it went wrong. And so brace is very, very important. And if you think about AI, for example, this does include some of the things that the AI world, in terms of the ethics of it, are looking, right? These feature much of the things that the AI world would be concerned about, or should be concerned about. But I think that it's more than AI. Being explainable goes across everything we do as software in general, right? Not just for artificial intelligence or any other kinds of learning algorithms that we want to implement. We should be able to explain everything we do. So this is brace, and together these three form the checklist, which is my third law of software design. So a quick recap, we need the box, and this is actually an example of the box in action, the box and lines in action. You can see, if I want to be more specific, I can draw boxes around these things because these are boundaries, and that would make it more readable. Lines between them in terms of the relationships of these things. Of course, I can also clarify and put labels on these relationships to be more clear. Of course, boxes and lines help us tremendously with understanding. Now, of course, boxes and lines wouldn't be anything without labeling and terminology and domain language and so on. So, of course, that's very, very important. We have to understand what the box is for. The checklist forms part of the third law of software design, and that encompasses these three, but is not limited to these three. So, therefore, highly encourage any organization, and you probably do have some kind of test checklist, quality checklist, and all kinds of things within your methodologies, within your processes, and so on. Okay, so this episode is a little shorter than the others, but I just wanted to introduce you to brace very, very quickly. I don't want to go too much detail in that, and finish the overview. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for more. There'll be many, many more upcoming. Thanks for watching.